Hi, I'm Mauricio Schiller and you're listening to The Schillering Hub, a podcast gathering hospitality professionals from around the world to talk about what hospitality is and what it isn't, and their lives, the innovations, and the ideas that set some businesses apart and others not. We also talk about the future, the trends, and recently we embarked on a journey to search for happiness in hospitality. What makes hospitality a happy place? What are the hurdles that block happiness from happening? And what can we do to overcome them? I invite you to be part of this journey. Comment and send us a message of how our conversation impacts your day. Ask me a question or tell me a guest you'd like to listen to. We make this for you, so I hope you enjoy it. Hello, lovely people, and thank you for listening to another episode of the Talking Hospitality podcast by the Schillering Hub. And today we are talking about mindfulness. And for this, I invited Niki Vinogradoff.
Wow, I made it.
I know.
You made it.
A mindfulness coach to speak to us. He has experience with hospitality as well. So, Niki, thank you very much for talking to us today.
Well, thank you for inviting. I've always enjoyed conversations with you, and I really like you have this new direction orientation around happiness, and looking forward to what we will brew up.
Yeah, that's awesome, Niki. Yeah, that's right. We are now starting the quest for happiness in hospitality. And I thought that mindfulness could be a great topic to discuss and see if it can help our people. But first, our audience probably doesn't know you very well yet. So, Niki, who are you?
Who am I? Well, that once upon a time on a February dark winter evening. No, maybe we don't go all the way there, but probably what is most relevant to your audience is that, well, I did work over 10 years in hospitality in different forms. So I know that it is an industry where there's so many, because it's connected with tourism, for example, which is one aspect that people who have hospitality businesses cannot necessarily control so well. Also, it's a service-oriented industry, which means that people have to be kind of all the time on. And so when I worked over as a chef, as a tour guide, as actually the person who worked with hospitality businesses or coach and mentor them, one thing that I really recognized is that the amount of stress from the business that people have to deal with, and that's what I'm gonna sort it out to work with, to help people with. And how I'm doing that is I have 15 years of daily meditation experience. I'm a neuroscience-based coach, and probably most relevant is to talk about just briefly about my clients. So most of my clients come to me not an hour in hospitality, but from all over the different industries. They usually are people who are doing pretty well in life. They are usually in leadership position. However, there is this like the mind is constantly on, this busyness, this stress, like this tunnel, and they're constantly thinking about work. And even though they're doing well at work, it's still really, in some level, it's eating up the rest of their life. It's quite a thing to maintain that level of constantly thinking and being on. And when my clients, let's say, finish their work with me, they'll become much more productive and effective, and yet their mind has been calmed down, become spacious and clear, and now finally people can actually focus on what they also want to do outside of their work. So that's brief, hopefully clear intro.
That's fantastic. I'm trying to see myself actually free of thoughts in my mind, and I cannot. I'm always getting into a new thought and getting distracted in the middle of the thought about another thought. But going back to your young self, right? Like you said that you work in the kitchen, and the kitchen, I work in the kitchen, is a very stressful environment. How was your experience?
Well, I got into it because my dad is an amazing chef, and it's such a great way to serve people, and it's such a creative job. However, as the statistics say that the life expectancy for chefs is just insane. 47 years old. That's crazy. And I remember your question is that I remember I went there idealistic. You know, you get to work with food and be creative with it. But then there's kind of the reality. It's like this order, that order, and it's, you are like just putting food out, and then 6 hours go, and well, I'm glad I didn't end up what I'm going to now share, but many people in that profession end up drinking a lot, and which is like unfortunate and understandable. Kind of, you are just full on, and then the restaurant closed, and it's 11 p.m. and then people take some drinks to relax. But that kind of work as launching for what I was about to do next. But the rhythm for somebody who was family just didn't work for me in the end. I did it for 8 years.
Wow. 8 years, that's it's a tough job. We know that.
Yeah,
we know how it consumes you, but some people manage to get that level of separating things, and I think that's fantastic. Who can manage that stress level in a way that it becomes actually productive and creative. I couldn't myself, but I'm very impressed by chefs that can really take creativity inside the kitchen, because working in that environment is very complicated. But then you said that was a platform for you to start something else. What was next?
Yes. Yeah, the next was, so when I loved the creativity part, I loved the part that I got to also interact with the people who were in the restaurant. And then when I moved to Czech Republic, I did decide that now I'm going to follow what is very important, which I really want to actually work directly with people, give them experiences. So I became a tour guide. In the beginning, I was thinking like, who the heck wants to have a Finnish guy as a tour guide in Czech Republic? But like as a side note, I actually was chosen to be in 2015 one of the top 15 tour guides in the whole world. So I loved that profession, from storytelling, connecting with people. And because I was successful at it, I was hired eventually to run a tours and activities business, which that really launched me into the path I'm now, which is going even deeper into helping people to grow and leadership. And I'll just throw something for our later conversations when you talked about that some chefs can take it. And I think it has to do very much that they see it as a very meaningful and interesting job, because that has to do with dopamine. When we see something as that I really love doing it, the body and the brain release dopamine, and that helps to deal with stress, which we will talk about later, how that might help with happiness even in a very busy industry.
Amazing thing, dopamine. So like we're starting to get into what you actually understand and help people today, right? Because today you are helping people with mindfulness, and help us understand what is.
Yes. So I would explain, almost like we are explain that. You could say there's 5 things that really help us to be happy, and maybe I would say that experience life in a very meaningful way, even when there's storms and difficulties going on. For that, we need 5 things. We need really to see the meaning in what we are doing. That's number 1. Like we really need to, and that's in some level, that's our responsibility. We can take some conscious effort to see, why is this what I'm doing important? That releases dopamine. Dopamine gives courage, curiosity, resilience, and blocks the most negative impacts of stress, which then affects our energy levels. And then whatever we are doing, we need to have some idea of, how am I going to do this? What am I going to do? When I'm going to do it? So that we have some sense of control over the thing. So when we have those two things, we already have a good foundation for life. Most people, unfortunately, kind of just jump into doing things and they're quite unclear about it. The third thing is that we know that there are difficulties in our life. Some conversations at the workplace we need to have. Some personal difficulties that we are not dealing with. But we need to deal with those things. And actually we could go even, I'll add one more thing to this, I'm not going to go to all the 5. Then to have some habits or rituals that actually manage our mental energy and mental stability, for example, exercise, meditation. And we could say that then we can have a mind that is really calm, like a container, and it's very spacious. We experience it that as of this very relaxed, clear spaciousness, but it's also very energized and active. I would say mindfulness is constantly, on daily basis, working with those 4 areas: meaning, clarity, dealing with what is difficult, and kind of taking care of our mind. That's how I would define it, because sometimes mindfulness is seen as a technique, but that's you played football, right?
Yes.
No matter how good you are with the technique, no matter how skillful you are with the ball, but you still need to see how the game is being played. You still need to have some stamina to run. So you even need to know the rules of the game. So techniques are not enough. So that's how I would briefly define.
So let me see if I understand. So a mindfulness, besides the technique to achieve mindfulness, is a state where you have meaning, you have clarity or control of what you're doing. You can you control your relationships. Did I understand that right?
That we face and deal with those difficulties or annoying things that are in the back of our minds, like, you just have that conversation, that thing you didn't do at work, you're probably really doing it. Actually do those things.
Get your shit done. and a good habit, right? Like some positive habits into your life, right? How do you help your clients to achieve this sense of mindfulness?
Right. So the first thing I do, we actually go through this first. We go through this step. So first I need to help the client to really make sure that they're connected to what do they actually want from life. What is the direction? Because many people come to me and they're kind of wishing that I teach them a tool or a method of mindfulness that will make their mind like smooth. Which I do, but if there's no vision for life, if there's no clarity about life, and if there's a lot of problems, like how likely is it that the person is going to be able to sit down and take and work with it? So first step with clients, no matter how long it takes, you need to have a direction, and that's the foundation. Without that, there's not a lot of dopamine. And the second thing we ask, if that is who you want to be as a person, as a leader, as a business owner, you want to be courageous, effective, smart, wise leader. Well, how would a wise leader actually approach the work? So we kind of start looking, we start approaching things from the vision, because then again, our mind is clearer because we are connected to something important. Then we start setting the plan, how does the daily life structure look like. Only then, when things are starting to working, then we go deeper into habits of mindfulness, which we could say that habits of mindfulness are just doing two simple things: creating stability in the mind and creating mental energy in the mind. And then those are the foundations of what I do. From there, we can go to all kinds of different things. It really depends on the client. We might go to childhood, or we can literally go to like designing what kind of experience they want to create for their customers, because I do have a lot of people, for example, from tours and experiences industry. I do have people who own restaurants, and with them I might work with like in a creative, fun way, building up experiences for clients. So it's when the foundations are there, then if you are a really good coach, you can help the person with questions and with all kind of framework do the stuff they need to and want to do.
So this is absolutely fantastic. So basically you say that first you need to clear up the pollution, right? Like clear up what is blocking you to have that peace of mind, let's say, to then start working on the energy levels of the mind. Did I get that right?
That's a really good, actually really good say that if mind is a garden, and if I'm helping a client to be the gardener, then one aspect of it is that they nurture it, that they take care of it. Another aspect is they protect the garden from stuff, like you said, like the blocks and obstacles, so they're removing those things. In some way, it's very simple, but not necessarily easy.
And if I could make a link between mindfulness and the hospitality, the workplace, because it is sometimes tough place to be, and sometimes with even a poor culture, right? A poor working culture, like the kitchen I worked was abused by the hour, right? Like they even have a nickname to abuse people that were new just for abusing, just for the sake of it.
Yeah.
How would people would be more about a change in the environment, or how we could apply mindfulness in a place that I feel that could be good for my career because I'm working with such a fantastic chef or such a fantastic manager. However, my colleagues around put me down all the time. How do I play with my mind in such a situation?
Yeah, well, that's a challenging one on some level, because that if there's a like toxic culture, and what I would mean by that is that it just really doesn't care about people, which I will answer your question, but go a little bit of sidetrack, is that hospitality industry has like this weird approach, which is that like everything has to be done really fast. In some level, it's understandable. If you're a hotel or restaurant and you have tourists or whoever, people are coming there, they want something and all, but this creates stress within, whether it's a kitchen or whether it's a hotel or whatever it is. And if the leaders don't know how to deal with that stress, they are going to act from stress. And by the way, a side note, interesting thing is when we are stressed out, literally, the parts of the brain that are responsible for empathy, of seeing other people and thinking of them, are switching off. And why is that? Well, because the stress response is built for running away from lion. You're running away from lion, you don't need to be empathetic. But so that's one, well, but then again, to answer your question, well, if you go as a new one in the hospitality industry, you cannot just probably go there and say, hey, everybody needs to change. Okay, the first thing, I know it's not easy, but the first thing would be to understand that there's nothing personal here. Like, it is very stressful. And again, what I'm saying is easy to say, a lot more difficult to do, is that like nothing probably is more painful to a human being than going against ourselves. So to go to a workplace, a strong enough mind to not fall into that stress mode that everybody else is something we are allowed to do. But again, that would need a lot of meditation per day. Well, one thing, because what you're describing is a difficult situation. Really, it's not easy to, like, my answer would be a lot different if you would ask what would you recommend to leaders of the hospitality industry. They can really start changing the environment. But one of the things is that literally, if there's a difficult situation, for example, okay, today I'm going to work in that restaurant, in that hotel, and it's going to be stressed out. If you have decided that my goal is to be a person who's really good at handling stress, because and through that I can help others, and my goal is that I can be some kind of calm center for others, the crazy thing is that we will experience that work environment very differently. It's called eustress, which means that there's so much dopamine associated to the stressful situation that the stress isn't harming us or it's not limiting us so much. Because as I mentioned, for dopamine is related to meaning, and dopamine blocks cortisol. Cortisol is this stress hormone that attaches the body, and we could say it affects our energy levels a lot, but dopamine blocks from attaching. So hopefully that was some kind of useful answer, but as it is difficult but possible to decide that I'm going to through this situation that I'm in, I will really become good at handling stress, and it needs to be kind of thought out. We cannot just say I'm going to just become more powerful. We do need to think, how is that going to happen?
I appreciate that you went through and tried to help out with a very difficult and challenging question. And I would then throw a question. What would say to the leaders of the hospitality?
To understand that, but I guess they're understanding that it is an industry where not too many people are going and people are leaving. I know that the turnover of chefs is like, there's not many chefs who are in it for a long time. I think same for many industries where it's busy, is to understand. This is what I would wish all the leaders would understand, not just the hospitality, but the difference with the brain that is stressed and the brain that is really relaxed is massive. Every leader wants good results. And when people are in a situation that is busy, stressful, they cannot control, they feel like they cannot control it. Literally, the blood of the brain flows more into the reptile and the limbic brain, which means that parts of the brain responsible for solution, coming up with creative solution, the ability to see how others are doing, which is really important for hospitality industry, ability to think in big picture and details, ability to have a lot of energy, that's not available for a person who is stressed out. Stressed out person is literally seeing the world through like problem, a short-term solution or a short-term solution. And they are all the time like depleting their energy. While the person who is relaxed and knows that, okay, the leader has my back, that the leader really understands what kind of industry I'm in, and I'm empowered to also have my own boundaries here, then the person has all those things. Empathetic, energy, really good, proactive in thinking. Like, if all the leaders would understand that my job is to help my people be relaxed so that their brain is literally so much more creative and productive. I think when leaders understand that, then they will actually start doing something about it.
Fantastic. Tough one. Sorry that I put you there. And
That's
I have a question. So, like, as we introduced before, we are in this quest for happiness, and you put quite clear that how mindfulness can help with performance, with meaning, and getting you to your full capacity of the brain and being calm to actually perform and enjoy what you are doing. But can mindfulness help with the quest for happiness in hospitality?
For sure, in some level, it is quest for happiness in anything in hospitality also. So I'm sure you have, Mauricio, you have been in a flow state, same as everybody who's listening. You have been in a state where you have been fully there. It's been so interesting. You've been doing something and nothing else exists. And I'm very confident that you felt happy. Actually, even more, you weren't even thinking whether you're happy or not. And then we can ask, okay, if we put an effort to see really deep meaning and the importance of who we can become through our work, if we every day put a little bit of effort, like, okay, there's some difficulties, but what might be some good ways to do it? how can I do it, what kind of help do I need, and that we do our best to, outside of the work, exercise, drink enough water. I mean, just a side note, 73% of adult population doesn't drink enough water. That's like a low-hanging fruit. And so if we have those three things, and we allow ourselves to not to go like, now I have to be happy day, like now I cannot be stressed, but every day a bit more. And the question is, like, how would it not be possible to be happy if we do those things? How would it not be possible to be happy?
True. That's very true, Niki. And like, let's jump. We have a game here that we always play that is about the future, all right? Like, it's about the future of hospitality. We try to brainstorm, but I would like to talk to you about the future of the human mind. Where are we going with our mind?
We decide, but I see two paths, and I might be completely wrong. I would say I'm very, in general, optimistic and positive, and I'll be very honest, I'm not completely optimistic about the next years, and let me share something, but I will end it on the positive note. So why do people do sometimes things that aren't good for their life? Well, like, let's say, scroll too much, or say stupid things, or put things in our body that are not good for us, or procrastinate. We don't do those things because we are stupid. We don't do those things because we are bad. We do those things because there's something in the present moment that we don't want to experience. For example, stress at work, a hospitality industry, getting really busy, and maybe that's why I go for a drink. Nothing wrong with that, but basically what I'm saying is that those are the reasons we do things that aren't good for us. And now if we look at the world, it is true that it's changing very fast. I'm sure in hospitality industry, people are wondering how will AI affect my job? How will it change things? How can I keep up? And if you have a combination of a lot of uncertainty and worry, then you have a combination of technology that allows you in a very inefficient way to get yourself out of the unpleasant emotion. What's going to then happen when this technology becomes even more personalized, intimate, and it becomes literally physical part of us? Because we can be 100% sure that when you no longer have to bother yourself with taking out the phone, but it's somewhere in you, many people will take it. Well, what if most people start giving their attention, their thinking, and everything into that? I can't see really that being good for the humankind. And all the uncertainty makes people react in a bit funny way. But then again, right now, like literally right now, all of us have the choice of, well, I know that there's difficulties and uncertainty, then who would I want to be? What can I make out of my life? And one of the big mistakes I see with my clients and people in general is that people demand way too much from themselves way too fast. People are already in January thinking that they're behind their goals. It's like, but they're yearly goals. You don't need to achieve them in January. But right now, we all can really decide. We have a mind, and it's not an external entity. It's not out of our reach. It's something we can all work with it. And in some way, what a tempting thought. What a like in some level of frustrating thought is that if everybody who wants a better future would just really decide, okay, I'll do my everything to work with my mind, then we'd probably have amazing future. So that's my some kind of.
And do you see mindfulness playing a bigger and bigger role in our society?
Yeah. So what happens when a person goes to a doctor and the doctor says, like, if you don't start exercising, you're going to be dead in 5 years. So most humans unfortunately have a tendency to change when things really go to the extreme. In some level, I hope that 5 years from now, it is as normal as exercise is for the body. Same as training and exercise, meditation, whatever, is for the mind. So I am already seeing it in my clients that more and more people are interested about going deeper and to know their mind and to really blessing. The good thing about more uncertain world is that people realize that they aren't necessarily so good at handling uncertainty, because we had actually literally 10 years ago was the most peaceful year on this planet ever. And people, what I really wish for people to recognize that mindfulness is not some like special thing here. It's just simply that every human being has a mind, and there's a way to work with the mind, and that it seems to make sense to work with the mind, since in some level we could even say that that's what we are. Like, what else are we? So I think it will play a big part in a way that people recognizing themselves that I can change, I can work with it. That's what I hope. I know I'm repeating myself, but I hope people can see that mindfulness is not some external thing, but it's our own mind.
It's our home. That's awesome. That's awesome. Niki, we're getting to the end, but how can our audience connect with you and learn more about mindfulness and get educated in how they can help themselves?
I'm going to keep it simple. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can ask me a billion or 10 questions. I will give my everything to anybody who asks. And you ask how can people help themselves. I want to keep that also very simple. I don't know if it's simple, but it's probably really worth asking. Like with all of this, the thoughts, the body, the emotions, like, what am I? What's my role in that? Like, who am I? What am I actually? Really start asking those questions, recognizing how absolute amazing we are and how much we do have control over everything.
Okay, that was an immense pleasure to talk to you again, connect with you, and learn more. I took some notes here, and I hope that our listeners are taking a lot from this as well, and they join us in this quest for happiness in hospitality.
I thank you, Mauricio. You are such a big positive light in the world with your smile, and always seen on LinkedIn. You are putting other people in the spotlight. It's all the times I talk with you, always talk about how you want to make things better for others, and you're always doing things for it. So thank you for what you're doing. You are probably already doing a lot more for the happiness of others than you will realize.
I hope so. Thank you very much, Niki. It's always a pleasure. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you very much for listening. See you later, Schiller. Bye.